For decades, the widow of an airman from Harnett County thought her husband had simply been left behind.
Staff Sergeant Donald Stewart was killed in Vietnam 50 years ago, but it wasn't until recently his remains were identified.
His widow and daughter escorted them home from an Air Force base in Hawaii. Brian Mims was at RDU today for the homecoming.
He's home. Beneath a water cannon salute, his plane arrives at the gate. It's raining, cold, but it's a beautiful day because he's home. And his coffin is draped in red, white, and blue. And veterans stand to salute him, heedless of the rain. And a widow feels a half-century of clouds have at last lifted.
Thank you so much for being here for us.
Wandra Rayner gives hugs to the Motorcycle Honor Guard just as she gave to her husband, Staff Sergeant Donald Stewart, when he left for Vietnam. He didn't see the birth of his daughter months later. He didn't come home.
And we was both Vietnam vets, and I guess I was the lucky one that got out, and I wished he would have. I'm very sorry.
December 1965, Sergeant Stewart's plane crashed in enemy territory. He and 3 other Americans were killed, along with 80 Vietnamese troops fighting with them. Bones were recovered years later and interred at Arlington, but Sergeant Stewart was never identified. His widow could not rest.
When I first started doing this, everybody thought, leave it alone, don't stir up bones.
She wanted to make sure her husband came home. She and the daughter he never met traveled to Vietnam in 2007 to see the site themselves. A few years later, they learned about a researcher in Hawaii who had some remains collected from the crash. He asked for a DNA sample. There was a match.
And I never dreamed it would be like that. But just to take his bones in your hand and press it to your heart. Because it was worth the 50 years.
Bones from his ankle, that's all. But that's all she and her daughter, Donna Rayner, needed.
He never got to hold his daughter, but she got to hold him. So it was wonderful.
That was a little surreal. You know, when I went in, I'm like, it's not really how you want to meet your dad for the first time, to hold his bones, but I was grateful for that opportunity.
The rain slackens as the flags billow. The hearse passes by, on to Harnett County. Home. Brian Mims, WRAL News.
Wow, and appropriately, a funeral service will take place on Veterans Day in Harnett County. He will be the focal point of the county's Veterans Day celebration when his daughter will receive the medals he earned during his service.